Hi, everybody, and welcome to Ringside Rivalries here on ESPN Classic. I'm Brian Kenny, coming to you from Gleason's Gym in New York. This is the home away from home to many of the all-time greats. Originally located in the Bronx, Gleason's is now in Brooklyn, which, of course, is the ancestral home to one of sports' greatest rivalries, the Dodgers and the Giants. But no sport has head-to-head or toe-to-toe rivalries like boxing. For the next 6 hours, we'll look back at the sport's greatest matchups. We'll roll out the vintage bouts from the classic library and sprinkle some hidden gems from the archives, plus have commentary throughout this marathon broadcast from our distinguished panel. Joining me here at Gleason's is my co-host, boxing historian, and the only man to watch more gladiators in action than Emperor Nero. Two names not enough, Burt Randolph Sugar, the legendary trainer of Muhammad Ali, Angelo Dundee, the former welterweight and middleweight champion of the world, Carmen Basilio, another celebrated trainer, Gil Clancy, Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist, Dave Anderson of the New York Times, author, journalist, and longtime boxing observer, Pete Hamill, and Showtime boxing analyst and our old ESPN boxing friend, Al Bernstein. Here are some of the all-time marquee matchups on tap. Jack Dempsey, Gene Tunney, two legendary heavyweight champions from the Roaring '20s. They slugged it out in two of the most famous fights of the 20th century. Their long count controversy still rages on. We'll have all the action from that epic battle. Joe Louis, Max Schmeling, a double bill of 1930s intrigue, a fight that transcended sports. We'll review all the political and racial tensions that engulf not just one, but the two fights and the two prize fighters and the entire world. Sugar Ray Robinson, Jake LaMotta, a rivalry immortalized in the cinematic masterpiece Raging Bull. These two middleweight greats fought 6 times. That's a rivalry. And their 1951 grand finale is one of boxing's most memorable fights, the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. And perhaps the ultimate ring rivals, Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier. Their first bout was the fight, or the fight of the century. Their third contest, the Thrilla, in Manila. They chased each other around the world, exchanged the heavyweight crown, and left fight fans with countless indelible images. And if that's not enough, we'll also unspool these gems from the vault. Joe Louis versus Billy Conn, Rocky Graziano versus Tony Zale, Sugar Ray Robinson versus Carmen Basilio, Emil Griffith, Benny Paret, Evander Holyfield, Riddick Bowe, and others. It's a marathon combination of knockouts, comebacks, and bad blood, combined with the sportsmanship and often friendship that often came about after these titans pushed each other to the limits of human endurance. And we get underway our first rivalry that we begin to explore. Burt Randolph Sugar and Al Bernstein. Dempsey and Tunney. First, let's talk about the greatness of Jack Dempsey. How big was he, Burt?
When he beat Jess Willard in 1919, July 4th in Toledo, he became the biggest thing in America. Paul Gallico, who was the sports editor of the New York Daily News, did something by creating a pantheon of greats called the Golden Era of Sports, and the first great he put in it was Jack Dempsey. That was before Babe Ruth and Red Grange and Bill Tilden and Bobby Jones. And Dempsey was the biggest thing in America. First round, he knocks down Willard 7 times. And you can see he hardly goes to a neutral corner, which will cost him later. Every time Willard picks his hands up off the canvas, he's back down. And in fact, there was a major to-do that after that first left he hit him with and broke his jaw in 3 places. The thought was that Dempsey had plaster of Paris in his hands. His manager, Jack Doc Kearns, said plaster of Paris, hell, it was cement. Because Kearns had bet 10-1 on $10,000 that he would knock out Willard in the first round, which was understandable because the 2 fights before this, before the Willard fight, Dempsey had knocked out Fred Fulton and Carl Morris, the number 1 and 2 contenders, in 14 seconds and 18 seconds.
I guess, Al, when we're looking at the all-time greats, we have to remember the place and time that Dempsey is coming out of.
Absolutely, and you can't take it too literally in terms of how many defenses he had and who he beat and all the rest of it, because, as Burt pointed out, he captured the imagination of America. And the other interesting thing I think about this is it shows where boxing fit into the scheme of things. that Burt rightly says he was as big or bigger than Babe Ruth.
Babe Ruth was jealous of
Yeah.
him for his popularity. He gave us $1 million gates, 120,000 in a stadium. I mean, just think of that. He was bigger than, and made boxing bigger than baseball, dare I say. And headlines on the front page of the New York Times as if World War had been declared.
So where does Gene Tunney come into this, where he's fighting as a light heavyweight, right?
He's
He's got his
fighting
wars with Greb.
He's fighting as a light heavyweight. He had been the AEF, American Expeditionary Force, World War I. I always liked that. I wonder if they labeled World War I, because there was another war coming.
We're expecting a few more.
Yes,
There'll be a few more down the line.
Two and three.
It's an interesting historical question, actually.
But he was the AEF champion, came out of Greenwich Village, New York. He was known as the Fighting Marine. And he was the American light heavyweight champion. He was beaten by Harry Greb so badly that they thought he should quit. He went back in against Greb and beat him 4 times after that. He was a made fighter. Some people are born, some people make themselves. He picked up part of the style of a Tommy Gibbons, part of the style of a Jack Dillon, known as the Giant Killer, part of the style of Benny Leonard, who was a stable partner. And he learned, and he was fast. He could hit. He knocks out Carpentier as a heavyweight. He knocks out a lot of people. But what he was known for is probably the greatest scientific fighter since James J. Corbett.
It's interesting too, Al, because he's a guy, as you say, a made fighter. He's a guy who did resistance training, early weightlifting things. He was looking to better himself in every way, and but also with his reading and his quoting of Shakespeare and literary
he
things.
He counted people like George Bernard Shaw as his friend.
Yeah.
He was a very bright guy who, as you point out, was a thinking man's fighter as well.
And yet,
of course, you had George Bernard Shaw as a friend, didn't you?
No, Little Willie Shakespeare.
Oh, that was it. Okay.
Set up this first fight.
All right, but here was Will Rogers saying about Gene Tunney, what this country needs in a heavyweight is more sock, not more Shakespeare. But Gene Tunney has always had in his focus one thought. He wants Dempsey because he knows he can beat Dempsey. Dempsey, to him, is a sucker for his right hand, because Dempsey, who had the greatest left in the history of boxing, Jack Doc Kearns taught him to throw the left by tying his right hand behind him in sparring. But he can beat him with his right hand, says Tunney, and he's got him in his crosshairs, and he's been campaigning for a fight. Now Dempsey, after beating Jess Willard and fighting one of the greatest fights of all time against Louis Angel Firpo in Polo Grounds in 1923, defends, and he had just defended in Shelby, Montana, and then he fights Brennan, and then he goes off to Hollywood. Even has a nose job to be in movies, and he marries Estelle Taylor, a movie star. So he's over there. He's not paying any attention. 3 years later.
3 years, yeah.
He comes back.
Sitting on the title, Al. Yes.
Yes, put it under his arm, took it to Hollywood. And he now is fighting Tunney. And Tunney, in a Tex Rickard $1 million fight at Philadelphia's Sesquicentennial Stadium, 100,000 people come to it. And Tunney scares the bejabbers out of the promoter, Tex Rickard, by flying to the fight from New York. And it sets up this magnificent $1 million fight, the biggest thing to happen in the heavyweight division ever.
All right, let's take a look. Round number 1. Again, Gene Tunney challenging for the heavyweight title against Jack Dempsey in 1926.
In round 1. Gene Tunney with a crew haircut has the darker trunks. It's starting to rain, but the fight is going to continue. 130,000 fans here tonight, the largest gate in the history of American sports. Dempsey hasn't fought for 3 years. But even so, everyone figures it's a cinch for him to win by a knockout within a few rounds. Tunney looks pale, seems tense. Dempsey's best punch is his left hook. It destroyed those two giants, Jess Willard and Louis Burpo. Tunney's got the best 1-2 combination in the business. While he doesn't have Dempsey's power, he can hurt you plenty. The end of round one. Dempsey always moving forward, bobbing, weaving, trying to get one good poke at Tunney. Tunney's a native New Yorker, the first ever to try for the heavyweight crown. Gene started out to be a lawyer, but joined the Marines in 1918. He began boxing in the service. He won the AEF championship and then decided to go into the fight game instead of the law. Tunney has lost that tenseness of the early rounds. He's relaxed now, cool, fighting his own fight. Dempsey's taking a pretty good beating up to now. His face is badly swollen. His right eye is cut and closed. Dempsey in the lighter trunks. Jack is desperate. He's way behind. He knows his only chance to keep his title now is by a knockout. That long 3-year layoff has had its effect on Dempsey. His old speed is gone. His timing is off. And here in the 10th round, he's pretty well used up. Just a few seconds left, and the rain is coming down in torrents. Almost a cloudburst. The end of the fight. Tunney, the winner by unanimous decision. No hard feelings on Dempsey's part. He congratulates Gene Tunney, the new heavyweight champion of the world.
So Tunney wins a unanimous decision in Philadelphia, outboxing and outfighting the great Dempsey. While the boxing experts predicted that Tunney would break and run from Dempsey's gladiator rushes, the Fighting Marine lived up to his nickname with a hammering attack on the Manasseh Mauler. Here is the newspaper account of the fight in the New York Times. Quote, "There was no question of the victor. At the finish, Dempsey, instead of flashing the fighting fury and tigerish rushes, which was expected from him, proved himself instead a floundering, weakened, almost helpless fighting machine from which the spark has gone." Ouch. The Tunney-Dempsey rematch at Soldier Field, Chicago in 1927 drew over 100,000 fans and set a record by netting $2.65 million at the gate. An estimated 60 million people listened to the fight on the radio, and it was billed as the Battle of the Ages. Dempsey predicted that Tunney wouldn't make it to the 9th round, while the champion boasted he would knock Dempsey out. Along with being one of the most anticipated fights of all time, it was one of the most controversial fights in boxing history.
Round 1. Tunney in the white trunks weighs 189 pounds tonight. Dempsey 194. The great Jack Dempsey, one of the most popular champions of all time, fighting tonight to win back the title he lost to Gene Tunney the year before. Dempsey's loss to Tunney in their first fight was considered a terrific upset. Over 100,000 fans here in Soldiers Field tonight. Biggest crowd in all boxing history. $2.5 million gate. All-time record. This great crowd has come to see if Dempsey can do what no other heavyweight champion has ever done. Win back the title after once losing it. The end of round 1.
The second Gene Tunney-Jack Dempsey heavyweight title fight had followed the same pattern as the first fight. Tunney had the fight under control using his jab to keep Dempsey at bay. But in the 7th round, the former champion stunned Tunney with a left cross and then knocked him to the canvas with a volley of blows. What followed next was one of the most controversial incidents in the history of sports, the infamous long count that spared Tunney his title.
Now round 7. Tunney in the white trunks. A lot depends on Dempsey's legs tonight. Tunney's much faster than Dempsey. Tunney is down. Referee Dave Barry motions Dempsey to a neutral corner. Count is 9. Tunney is up. Tunney trying to stay away from Dempsey, trying to last out the round. Dempsey's fans yelling to Jack to corner Tunney, but Tunney's too fast. Jack's legs just can't carry him that fast anymore. Dempsey's getting disgusted. He screams at Tunney, quit running away, come back and fight. But Tunney stays on that bicycle. He's not ready to trade punches with Dempsey yet a while. Tunney appears to be recovering from that knockdown. He's fast, even though he's been going backwards. His jab is straight and hard. His right cross has the old sting again. There's the end of round 7, one of the most famous rounds in the entire history of boxing.
The 7th round, he catches Tunney with a bodacious left hook and follows it up with a 6-punch combination.
Tunney is down! Tunney is down!
Tunney is dazed, Tunney is down, Tunney is out.
And nobody really knew he was badly hurt, but he was badly hurt, and he sat there.
Dempsey, his instinct takes over. He refuses to go to a neutral corner. The referee orders him to a neutral corner. Dempsey, as in the old days, standing over Tunney, ready to pounce and destroy him.
For the first time in boxing history, there is a clause that says the fighter scoring a knockdown must go to a neutral corner. Ironically, it was insisted upon by Dempsey.
The referee kept waving at him to move over, and when he finally did, the time on the timekeeper's clock was 5 seconds.
And they came back. Instead of starting on 6, he started on 1, 2, 3.
As a consequence, Tunney is on the canvas for fully 14 seconds, according to the watches of all the reporters who were at the site.
Hey, and Tunney is up! And now they're at it again. Tunney is backing away, and Dempsey is following Tunney.
If he hadn't have had those extra 5 or 6 seconds, would his mind have been clear enough to stay away from Dempsey the remainder of the round?
He said, I could have gotten up, but what I don't know is whether I could have gotten away. That extra 4 seconds gave him enough time.
All right, so there it is, the long count, Bert. But as we'd seen before, Dempsey had a propensity to stand over a guy and drill him back down to the canvas. There was a reason why the neutral corner was put into effect.
Well, it was an agreement by both camps. This was the first time it was really put into a contract. A fighter, because of Dempsey, really, though there were some theses that said that Dempsey put it in because of his eyes. They had been injured badly in the first Tunney fight. He'd stuck enough lefts in his eyes. But they agreed to it, and what happened was Dempsey did not go to a neutral corner. He just stood over him. Now, let me just give you a couple quick notes here. Number one of which is after the first fight in which Dempsey in the rain in Philadelphia lost 10 out of 10 rounds, it was a 10-round fight, he wasn't sure he wanted to fight Tunney again. He fought Jack Sharkey. And in that fight, he continues to foul Sharkey because Dempsey would hit you anything, anywhere, anytime. And Sharkey turned to the referee to complain, and a left hook separated him from his senses and his complaints. So they set up the 27 fight a year later in Chicago. 120,000 people come. Now, there were rumors that Al Capone somehow, some way, somewhere has gotten to the referee and bet a lot of money on Dempsey. The afternoon of the fight, a new referee, Dave Berry, is inserted. The man thought to be a, if you will, friend of Al Capone's, is pulled out by the Illinois State Athletic Commission. This is Dave Berry in here, who is moving Dempsey, trying to get him somehow, some way, somewhere to a neutral corner. Dempsey finally figures out. Paul Gallico, sitting in the press section, is watching, and a man behind him, as Tunney finally gets up, taps him on the shoulder and says, I had a stopwatch. I clicked it when he went down. 14.5 seconds. And Gallico looks at the little old man and figures out it's Battling Nelson, the former great lightweight champion, who was keeping count. From that point on, it became known as the long count. 14.5 seconds, and the question still remained, could Tunney have gotten up before 10 if Dempsey had gone to a neutral corner? As you see, he runs around the ring.
Well, let's take a look at it right now. We want to look at this, and we're going to have the clock on it. We're going to set that. And, of course, now, Al, we're used to now, in watching all these fights, we're used to a referee might not start a count until he gets the guy to the neutral corner. This is new, though, at this point, and we're going to start the clock.
Yeah, and as you can see, a count should have been started at this juncture.
And look, it's taken him twice to get Dempsey over to a neutral corner.
Dempsey didn't get there, and by now, an extra 4, 5, or 6 seconds. Now, it looks like Tunney maybe could have gotten up a few seconds before this.
He's got the count in mind now. And now he's up running because Dempsey is loaded for bear. But Dempsey can't catch Tunney. Tunney practiced running backwards. I mean, before Ali, and who ran backwards, Tunney did it.
Also, Al, another thing to bring out is a lot of times a referee now will pick up the count, but for many fights, the referee won't pick up a count. He has his own count. He starts the count if the other fighter isn't cooperating with him. I guess there's different ways of doing this.
Well, and at ringside, they start the count for the referee as well while he's getting the fighter into the neutral corner. You know, it's interesting. Gene Tunney was really the kind of the guy, in my opinion, that invented the phrase boxer-puncher. He really did. And we saw evidence of this when once he was knocked down, as Bert pointed out, and he got up. When he got up in this fight and started moving, you knew this fight was over. That it wasn't going to be a win for Jack.
And everybody forgets one thing. In the 8th round, Tunney knocks down Dempsey.
Yeah, that's right.
And the referee does not make Tunney go to a neutral corner.
Oh, no. Well, first, let's go back. Again, this is 1927. We have the radio call to listen in right now. Clem McCarthy with the radio call at the time of Dempsey and Tunney.
Which he follows up with 2 mean lefts. And as the left is in Dempsey's face, he lands a right. Then Dempsey comes back, and Tunney is down. Tunney is down from a barrage of left and right to the face. Count is going on. Tunney's down. Dempsey is on the other side. 8-8. 9. And Tunney is up. And now they're at it again. Tunney is backing away, and Dempsey is following Tunney.
Yeah, Clem McCarthy had picked up the count of the referee, of Barry, who his count that Tunney heard.
And never mentioned long count.
Right. Well, maybe it's hard to, as a broadcaster, Al, it's hard to pick all these things up at the time, and you can miss that sort of thing.
We writers can do that.
Well, yeah, because you're doing it the day later.
Because, well, you guys went to college, I think.
How do you spell that? One man died of a heart attack while this was going on in the stadium. And it became a major cause célèbre. And there was sympathy given to Dempsey, not to Tunney, because of this. Everybody arguing Dempsey won. And Dempsey said, I loved it. I made a lot of money out of that long count.
Because he had become not so popular a champion. Some people accused him of being a draft dodger. There was a lot of, he was not fighting often. No. So he became less popular, and so this kind of helped boost his popularity back.
Well, back during the WW1, he was pictured pitching hay. Why he was not in the service? He was helping. Yeah. Meanwhile, they'd forgotten to change his patent leather shoes while he was in overalls. He became known as, quote unquote, a slacker, and was even tried but acquitted as a slacker, draft dodger in our terms. And no, he was not popular, but all of a sudden, he has become very popular now, and more so because of the long count.
What's the relationship between the two?
Oh, it was very, very close. Dempsey never regretted this, and in fact, he campaigned for Tunney's
John
son
Tunney, yeah.
in California. John Tunney used to say, "Come and see me, Jack Dempsey will be here," and won in a landslide. Tunney this is Dempsey's last fight. Tunney fights one more time, Tom Heaney, and but for this fight, and then retires, marries, and does well. For this fight, Tunney gets a check from Tex Rickard for the Chicago second fight for $990,000. He won't take it. He writes his own check to Rickard for $10,000 and gets $1 million check. A photostat of that check still hangs in his son's garage.
Think of the money. Compared to, this is an era when even Babe Ruth, who was making, I believe, about $80,000, but most players are making several $1,000s. Even Lou Gehrig would get about what, $25,000, $35,000. He's making $1 million for this fight.
That is a monstrous gate. And then he did another good thing. He married a steel heiress. So Tunney really secured. Yeah, he really secured his financial future very well. Not suggesting he didn't marry for love, but I'm saying in addition to the million, it helped.
It's nice to be able to love money.
And next up, the first fight between Joe Louis and Max Schmeling from Yankee Stadium in 1936. The two-fight series became, of course, much more than a sporting event. Adolf Hitler used the fights as a propaganda tool to promote his repulsive racial policies, and the bouts came to symbolize two countries on the verge of war. All right, Bert, it's kind of a difficult situation to look at, and you can examine it from many different ways. Where do you stand on Max Schmeling kind of riding the line and trying to, he's not a Nazi, would not buy in, and yet had to ride a certain line, and he did allow himself to be used as a propaganda tool?
There was a famous line by John Calhoun, who didn't agree with a lot of what was going on pre-Civil War. My country, right or wrong, my country. I once asked Max Schmeling, I had a chance to meet with him, I said, well, you had dinner with the Fuhrer. And he said, yeah, I had turned the Fuhrer down 4 times. You did not turn the Fuhrer down 5. And he paused and then he said, but I had dinner with Franklin Roosevelt. That did not make me a Democrat. And he said it straight-facedly. I didn't know if he had any humor or not. But he had a Jewish manager, Joe Jacobs. He had Jewish friends. He saved 2 kids during Kristallnacht, and I know one of them, 2 Jewish kids in his hotel room. So Max Schmeling was a fair-minded person, but yes, it was his country. He didn't know how to deal with it. His wife, by the by, Annie Sundra, was thought to be a Nazi. She was a Czechoslovakian film star. But Schmeling, I think, yes, was an opportunist, but yes, he also had, as you say, using your words, Brian, he had to ride a line that was a very thin one.
And a dangerous one, too, as well. Al, at this point, I don't know if people who are too young to remember this realize how big a star Joe Louis was in this country before he became champion. How big was Joe Louis before this fight with Schmeling?
Well, he was considered, obviously, there had not been a black champion since Jack Johnson, and fight fans really got a kick out of Joe Louis. And even though he had going into the Schmeling fight, there was a lot of popularity, and I think people were anxious to see what he would be able to do against Schmeling.
He had beaten, before Schmeling, Jack Sharkey. Sorry, Sharkey was after. He'd beaten Primo Carnera and Max Baer. And this was thought to be Schmeling in the first fight, just another one of those warm bodies who had once worn a title. And yet Schmeling, after watching Louis in action against Polina Yuzhgadan, said, I seed something. And what he had seen was Louis dropped his left hand after jabbing, and that he was going to cross over with his right. And he did.
Great footage there, by the way, as we see Joe Louis known to go into, I believe, Pompton Lakes, New Jersey.
Yeah, but he didn't train. He didn't train for the first fight. He played golf.
That is one thing that he admitted, that he at that point reached a point of overconfidence after unbeaten, starching everybody in the first round. Obviously, going to be the next champion, and he was overconfident. going into that fight.
And he hadn't trained.
Yeah, I think they thought he was going to hit Schmeling with a right hand, and that was going to be the end of it. And I think that did breed a lot of overconfidence in him. Another note about Schmeling, in addition to what we talked about, he helped Jews escape Nazi Germany. In addition to the people he hid, he helped people escape for Nazi Germany.
And they went out through China because the western part was blocked. So they went out through Shanghai. But Lewis was such a favorite, not only of the fans, but of the betting crowd, that the days before the first fight in '36, nobody was picking Schmeling. And there was a famous scene at the New York Journal-American where Bill Farnsworth, the editor, is looking around for anybody. Please, we need somebody to pick Schmeling. We're selling newspapers here. He picked his son, a copy boy. You know, here are all the choices for Lewis. Here's Bill Farnsworth Jr. Schmeling. When Schmeling won, Bill Farnsworth Jr. became an instant celebrity, and he hadn't picked him. His father had picked him for him.
In the fight itself, I think it's amazing to look back and see and not be just swayed by what you hear later and what is written, but to watch the domination of Max Schmeling. That it wasn't just one shot that he nailed Lewis with. He hit him with that shot and that right hand out repeatedly with that shot and beat him down.
It's amazing how much that punch lands when you look at the footage. And he totally controlled the fight. And it speaks to two things. It wasn't that he just saw one thing he could do, although that landing that right was a big deal. It also speaks to the fact that Joe Louis was ill-prepared for this fight. There's no question about it. And the Max Schmeling did certainly have ability. Now, he was a little older fighter at this juncture. He wasn't as young when he had some bigger wins. But still, Max Schmeling had a lot of ability.
And Max Schmeling would just raise his shoulder to stay off Lewis's right.
He was James Toney before James Toney.
and he kept his right.
We haven't heard that before about Max Schmeling, yes.
There you go.
He kept his right. Schmeling, by the by, was popular for one reason in America. He looked like Jack Dempsey. Though he was the black Hewlin, he looked like Jack Dempsey, so people, in effect, cast him as the natural successor to Dempsey. And he just stayed there and waited. He took everything Lewis threw for 3.5 rounds, waiting for that one moment, and it came in the fourth.
Right. Max Schmeling, let's hear from the man himself, again, an interview with Max Schmeling on what he did see, what he saw in Joe Louis that helped him win that first fight.
Joe Louis was fighting Paulino Uzkudum. And Paulino never been on the floor. And I was sitting on the ring, very close, and Joe put Paulino down and right on my laps nearly. And it was the first time Paulino got knocked out. And then all the newspapermen came near me. Well, Max, what do you say now? Don't you think this is Superman? And I said, I like to fight Joe, and I saw some things, and I believe I can beat him on that. What did you see? I won't tell you. I tell you after the fight. Joe hit his left hand, and then he dropped it. And I was a good puncher. I mean, a good counter puncher. And I was waiting when I took the left hand from Joe, and then I went right behind him because his hand dropped it. And I hit him every time on the chin, and I hit him a little higher and he got a very swollen face.
Louis Schmeling 2, one of the greatest sporting events in all of history. And it's fascinating with all the political events going around between Nazi Germany and the United States and Schmeling and Louis. There's boxing politics as well. I think people out there might not realize that it is Schmeling who dominates Joe Louis, knocks out Joe Louis, but it's Joe Louis who gets the shot at the title. How does that happen, Bert?
There's a war going on, small W versus what is to come, between 20th century boxing, which is Mike Jacobs, and Madison Square Garden Jimmy Johnston. Jimmy Johnston has the contract for Max Schmeling for the Garden. Mike Jacobs has the contract for Joe Louis. So what Mike Jacobs does is he gets Braddock and Braddock's manager, Joe Gould, to agree to take 10% of Lewis's purse for the next 10 years. They get the fight, even though Max Schmeling comes to New York and stands on the scale for a weigh-in. The fight between Louis and Braddock is in Chicago, and Louis wins.
This is the Cinderella man, Al, who is cashing in because he sees Louis and he knows he's not going to be a champion very long.
Yeah, absolutely. And then that fight took place, and of course it catapulted Louis. to the fight with Schmeling and created this situation where it could be a champion fighting Max Schmeling.
And yet it was Lewis who had to, really avenge this loss. What was the thought as far as him being a champion, but still that unavenged knockout loss to Max Schmeling?
He thought he'd never be considered a champion, at least in his own mind, until he avenged his loss to Schmeling. And though he defended first against Tommy Farr and then against John Henry Lewis, he wanted Schmeling. So in 1938, 2 years after the first loss to Schmeling, 1 year after he wins from Braddock, Lewis climbs in the ring in what many considered politically and sociologically as the war to come battle. There were people who didn't want that fight to take place because they thought if Schmeling won, and there was still the belief he could, he would take that title home to Germany and it would be frozen and it would never come back. There were pickets outside. There was a lot of turmoil in the stadium, Yankee Stadium, that night. This was a massive event.
Yeah, here is Yankee Stadium, 80,000 people coming in. The tension in this fight is incredible.
And to buttress what Bert said, it shows you how important the heavyweight championship was and how America viewed it then. The idea of this championship going to Europe, and more importantly, going to a country where we had seen Schmeling was being used for propaganda to show the Aryan race was superior.
Let it be known that America was not above using Joe Louis for propaganda, for democratic ends.
Right.
Franklin Roosevelt at the White House felt Joe Louis's arm and said, "Joe, we need these muscles for democracy." So what you had was the pitting of democracy versus the Nazi dictatorship, and it was on a world stage. This was not a boxing match. This was a political event.
Let's go to Yankee Stadium right now. Again, an estimated 70 million people listened to NBC's radio broadcast of the fight. Clem McCarthy told his audience that, quote, "This was the greatest fight of our generation." Let's get to the action, accompanied by McCarthy's radio call.
Calmly getting last word from Doc Casey, and they're ready with the bell just about to ring. And there we are. And they got to the ring right together with Arthur Donovan, Stepper and Brown. And Joe Louis is in the center of the ring. Max going around him. Joe Louis led quick with two straight lefts to the chin. Both of them light, but as the men clinch, Joe Louis tries to get over two hard lefts, and Max tries him up in the breakaway clean. On the far side of the ring now, Max with his back to the ropes, and Louis hooks a left to Max's head quickly, and shoots over a hard right to Max's head. Louis, a left to Max's jaw, a right to his head. Max shoots a hard right to Louis. Louis with the old 1-2, the first to let them fight, and there Max Schmeling caught him with his guard down and caught that right hand to Louis's jaw, but Louis was going away with the punch at the time. Now Max is backing away against the ropes. Louis is following him and watching for that chance. He is crowding Schmeling. Schmeling is not sitting around very much, but his head quickly and shoots over a hard right to Max's head. Louis, a left to Max's jaw, a right to his head. Max shoots a hard right to Louis. Louis with the old 1-2, the first to left and then the right. He's landed more blows in this one round than he landed in only 5 rounds of the other fight. He's not sitting around very much, but his face is already marked, and they stepped into a fast clinch, and at close range, Louis fights desperately to bring up a left to the jaw and a right to the body, and coming out of that clinch, he got over a hard right and then stabbed Max with a good straight left jab, and Max backed away and missed the right. Louis then stopped him with 2 straight lefts to the face and brought over that hard right to the head, high on the temple, and Max tied him up in a clinch and rope ground. Is back against the ropes again there, not too close to the ropes. Louis out, and Louis missed with a left swing, but in close, brought up a hard right over to the jaw, and again a right to the body, a left hook, a right to the head, a left to the head, a right. Schmeling is going down, but he held to his feet, held to the rope, looked to his corner in helplessness, and Schmeling is down. Schmeling is down. The count is 4. And he's up, and Louis right and left to the head, a left to the jaw, a right to the head, and Donovan is watching carefully. Louis measures him right to the body, a left up to the jaw, and Schmeling is down. The count is 5, 6, 7, 8. The men are in the ring. The fight is over, and a technical knockout. Max Schmeling is beaten in 1 round.
One of the most famous calls in all of sports history, and anybody who became a sportscaster remember Schmeling is down, five. And you're thinking, was it 5 before? Was it 5 then? Wow, I mean, it's incredible to see it.
And meanwhile, in the totalitarian country of Germany,
Yeah, they didn't hear that.
they pulled the plug.
Yep.
They stayed up till 5 in the morning, and halfway through what was going to be an annihilation, they pulled the plug.
Just from what was happening in the ring, why is this fight so different, do you think, Bert? Why is this fight so different from the first one?
Well, first of all, Lewis was not taking this one for granted. He was not sloughing off, he was training. When Jimmy Cannon went into the dressing room before the fight, he was a dear friend of Joe Lewis's, the writer. Jimmy said, how many rounds, Joe asked him how many rounds you think it'll go, and Jimmy said 5. And Joe Lewis's hands were taped, raised one thumb. He knew what he was going to do. He was coming out. Let Schmeling wait to throw his right hand. There was no way he wasn't prepared.
And also, I think there's been books and movies done about this, and more to come. I think Max Schmeling was a preoccupied human being. He was very uncomfortable with the way he was being used before this fight. There were other distractions. You mentioned his wife, questions about whether his wife was pushing him in a certain direction. How much pressure was he getting at home from the Nazis? A lot on Max Schmeling's
Well, he got a
mind
telegram.
as well.
He got a telegram
That's right.
before the fight from Hitler.
Yep.
We're with you, der Führer. Shook him up. His manager couldn't be there that night.
Yep.
He was barred for another infraction from another fighter. His handlers, Max Marchant and others who wore Nazi uniforms, were basically telling him he was under pressure to win this from the Third Reich. And he went in and they threw things at him as he came into the ring. I mean, he did not go in a good frame of mind to begin with.
You can see, and it's important to watch these tapes, watch these old films, you can see, in a fighter, energy comes out of a fighter.
Yes.
You can feel that, whatever that is, that fighting spirit, and the spirit's very different in Schmeling coming into the second fight.
And also Lewis.
Absolutely right. He felt that was probably Joe Louis at his peak, at his meanest peak. The Joe Louis-Max Schmeling rivalry captured the attention of the world, in large part, of course, because of the political overtones. One of the Brown Bombers' most other noted rivals was Billy Conn. Now, this was a rivalry based purely on events that took place inside the ring. Conn, the Pittsburgh Kid, held the light heavyweight championship from 1939 to 1941. He gave up the belt to move up in weight to challenge Joe Louis, the heavyweight champion of the world. The first fight at the Polo Grounds, June 18th, 1941, witnessed by 54,000 people. Al Bernstein, Conn at this didn't gain weight. Light heavyweight stayed at about 174 pounds, giving up at least 25 pounds to the champ.
Giving away a lot of weight, maybe even more than that, Bert Sugar.
They minimized the weights. Lewis was 204, they said 199 just to bring him in under 200. Conn was 169, they announced him at 174.
A way for them to show that this fight was for real. But they didn't need to do that, did they? Because this was for real, because Billy Conn, who was, I think if they had a pound-for-pound title back then, he would have been right up near the top 2 or 3. He was a superb boxer, and he used every single skill against Joe Louis, especially over the initial 12 rounds of this fight to build up a huge lead.
Also, Billy Conn was fearless. He was fearless. One fight he fought against a fighter named Oscar Rankins with an S. He was knocked down in an early round, second round. When he gets back to the dressing room, he tells his manager, Johnny Ray, "I'm sorry I lost." Ray said, "You won. You knocked him out." He never remembered. He would fight. He was never knocked out going into the Louis fight. He turned heavyweight after winning the light heavyweight title and then relinquished it and came into the heavyweight ranks, knocking out people like Bob Pastor, whom Louis had knocked out. But he wasn't a knockout puncher, really. But he decided, as a heavyweight, I better be.
What is it, of course, the story is that he got overconfident. He figured he'd stay in there and finish him off. Is that the way it really happened, Bert?
Well, first thing, let me backtrack. He comes right at the end of what is best known as Joe Louis's Bum of the Month Club, but Billy Conn was not a bum. So it was the breaking of people who all sounded like their names were Johnny Paycheck, not the country singer, but the fighter. But he, for the first couple of rounds, wasn't in the fight. He slipped, he slid, He actually fell down in his corner. He looked so nervous. Each round, he gained more confidence. By the 7th or 8th round, he is outpointing Lewis terribly. Not only is he now outpointing him, he's starting to outslug him. By the 12th round, he is rocking him, even raising his foot up off the ground, and Lewis is hurt. And the crowd is going wild. Large contingent from Pittsburgh.
Yeah, 6,000 people came from Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and he was. I mean, he was a favorite in Pittsburgh, and here they all are. Now come the 13th. His manager's in the corner, Johnny Ray, and the other managers are telling him, take it easy. Billy Conn now thinks he can knock out Lewis. Goes right back on the attack. And boom, Lewis, someone you don't trade punches with, particularly if you are outweighed so heavily, starts taking it to Conn. And look at this, and Conn is taking the punches.
Yeah, which is pretty amazing. And at this point, one of the cards had him even. He was ahead on 2 of the cards, so he wasn't assured of a decision win, but boy, he was on his way to a decision win before this happened.
And when he's knocked out for the first time in his career, there are only 2 seconds left in the round. 2 seconds. And afterwards, Jesse Abramson from the Herald Tribune goes into the dressing room and says to Billy Conn, Billy, why? Why did you do this? You should have, could have, would have won. Billy's answer, what's the sense of being Irish if you can't be stupid? That's the way he thought. You know, I'm Billy
I'm not
Conn.
taking offense to that.
Yeah, on your behalf, I may be.
I
I'm
didn't
not sure.
say it, he said it.
So,
I'm just a messenger.
How much did it hit him eventually, the lost opportunity here? Eventually, I read that he had wept after the fight.
He did, and during the war, when both he and Lewis were in the service, so the title is frozen, they can't fight, though they were scheduled to fight again in '42, but the Secretary of War, Stimson, said you can't. But he said to Lewis, Joe, when they met crossing paths in the USO tour, Joe, why didn't you lend me your crown for 12 months? We could have made a lot of money. And Joe Louis said, Billy, I lent it to you for 12 rounds and you couldn't keep it.
You know, the other thing about this, my wife's from Pittsburgh, a lot of my friends are from Pittsburgh, and a lot of people from that city. And you know, this is talked about by sports fans, even sports fans that are younger than you'd think would be talking about this. This loss by Billy Conn has a very important place in the folklore of sports in Pittsburgh. It was a grave disappointment to that city.
And yet it lives on because of how much a man outweighed.
Yep.
This might have been one of the few times that thesis about a good little man and a good big man, that the good big man doesn't always beat the good little man.
The rematch then, Bert, 1946. So it takes a while for this to come back because of World War II. What is it like?
A lot of people have, in the service, have lost a lot. Lewis included, and Conn more so. But Mike Jacobs, head of 20th Century Boxing, puts it on, and it's the first time he charges $100 for a ringside seat. It's that big. First one was at the Polo Grounds. This is Yankee Stadium, even bigger. The war is over, people are in a spending mood, and boxing is still one of the biggest draws. And we go to the rematch, which is nothing like the first fight.
Now, it was in the training camp for Joe Louis where he came up with, he can run, but he can't hide, right? This is the second fight.
Yes, I mean, it was philosophical uttering. Unlike in England, where the WBO heavyweight champion was once Herbie Hyde, and it was said he can Herbie, but he can't hide.
Where he comes up with that, Al,
you know what? I sit in awe. I don't, you know, a Herbie Hyde reference. You can't do better than that. Yeah.
So Conn is not the same type of fighter, Al, at this point.
No,
in his
he's
life.
not. And a lot, as Bert pointed out, a lot had transpired. And in his case, his skills had degenerated a bit. And here he was still facing a heavyweight, mind you. And he was not able to cope with the Lewis power.
I mean, it was a big
fight.
draw, but it was no great fight. The one thing I mentioned as a historical reference, when Conn is knocked down and out in the second fight, his involuntary motions throw his arms over his face in exactly the same pose as Jack Johnson in the 1915 fight versus Willard, where he claimed he was hiding his eyes from the sun, and Billy Conn was being knocked out at night in the same pose.
That's intriguing.
Yeah, it is. And
or repose.
And one accused of throwing the fight, but not in this case, in this knockout. And welcome back to ESPN Classics Ringside Rivalries. I'm Brian Kenny. Welcome back, and welcome back to Gleason's Gym in Brooklyn. Not far from here, just a mile or so across the East River, is where Rocky Graziano grew up on the tough streets of the East Side. The dead-end kid packed a lot of power, but in Tony Zale, he met his match. The man of steel could absorb blows as well as deliver them. Over a 21-month period from 1946 to 1948, the two middleweights went at each other in 3 of the most memorable fights ever staged. All right, Bert, tell us about Rocky Graziano. What's he all about?
Rocky Graziano was the dead-end kid. He really was. He once told me, he said, I never stole anything that didn't begin with an A. A purse, a car, a train. I mean, he stole. He was really a dead-end kid, and he took that approach into the ring. He was supposed to be in the brig during World War II for having clocked an officer. He escaped, fought under, his name is Rocco Barbella. He fought under the name Graziano. A friend of his name. They were looking for him. He's fighting. And he's fighting, let me tell you how he's fighting. He knocks out Freddie Red Cochran, the welterweight champion, by holding his neck and beating him with the right hand. He knocks out Al Bummy Davis and then hits him when he's on the floor to further knock him out. He knocks out Marty Servo by standing over him when he gets up, just hitting him. Anything and everything this dead-end kid did, and he became a favorite of the crowd.
Carmen, was he that dirty, Graziano?
His reputation should be the vicious puncher and very, very tough.
And he really was a one-handed puncher.
Tell us about the first fight then.
The first fight was unbelievable because the man of steel, Tony Zale, who'd been in the service for 4 years, and the title was frozen during the duration, is what they said. Lewis's was, the middleweight title, Zale's was. Zale comes out, he's an underdog in the first fight at Yankee Stadium. He knocks down Graziano in the first minute. Graziano promptly bounces up and starts beating everything out of him. By the end of the second round, Zale A is down, has to be dragged to his corner, he's broken, was down for the count of 4 at the bell. In those days, that ended the count. Couldn't come out, but did. And in the third round, he turns it around. Then it's Graziano's turn. They take turns beating each other until the 6th round, when Graziano hits Zale with some murderous punches, and Zale just hits him to the stomach. And Zale had probably the second greatest body attack in the history of boxing behind Billy Patrol. Almost buries his arm up to his elbow in Graziano's midsection. Graziano sinks to the canvas, can't catch his wind, and is counted out for the first time ever in the 6th round. Jump skip second fight, which now is in Chicago. Reason it's in Chicago, Graziano did not report to the commission a bribe attempt which he turned down, but claimed a bad back to even himself with the mob.
Asking an awful lot
and,
at that point in time.
And he's banned in New York, but they take the second fight to Chicago. Exact opposite. Zale is beating Graziano, and by the 6th round, Graziano now drapes Zale over the ropes like wash on a line. He wins. After the fight, he takes the microphone and says, "Ma, your bad boy did it. Somebody up there likes me." Jump skip to the Paul Newman film. Third fight, and that's where we are. We have 2 of the greatest warriors who have just done damage to each other over 12 rounds, 6 rounds apiece, meeting for the 3rd time, and Zale is trying to come back to become the first man since Stanley Ketchel to regain the middleweight title.
Let's pick it up, Bert. Well done. Rubber match of this trilogy taking place June 10th, 1948, Newark, New Jersey. This is the only fight of the 3 that was filmed, and the savagery of the rivalry is now on full display. Raw, primitive combat. Both men trained hard, of course, for this fight. It's unlikely either one had the remotest chance of going the full 15 rounds, but they went at it to see who would last. Zale, Graziano, 3.
And here we are in the rubber match. Rocky put in a light left hand on the chin. Zale feints the left hand. Zale goes into a crouch, so does Graziano. Graziano moves away from a jab, misses a left hand over the head of Zale. Zale is short with a pecking left hand. He drives Rocky to the ropes, driving a left hand to the body, a right to the jaw, a left and a right to the head, another sharp right to the jaw by Zale. Graziano goes in and holds on for a moment, holding Zale against the ropes. And the referee, Paul Cavalier, gets them apart. It's round 1 for the middleweight championship of the world. Graziano standing up now, straight. Bobs and weaves a little bit, goes in, takes a grazing left hand to the jaw thrown by Zale. Zale moving in on him, wraps his left hand around the head, no damage there. And again, they go in and hold on and are tied up. At long range again. Zale feints the left hand, comes in with a hard left hook to the jaw, and Rocky Graziano is down. It's a flash knockdown. He's right up without a count. Rocky seems to be all right as they go back into action. They exchange light left hands to the head. Graziano drives the right to the body, is countered with a right to the body by Tony Zale, the man of steel from Gary, Indiana. Zale drives the right hand to the back. Graziano takes a light left hook on the jaw, 2 jabs on the mouth thrown by Tony Zale. Rocky is wild with a right hand over the head. Zale comes in driving a right to the midsection, misses a right hand over the head of Graziano. Referee Paul Cavalier goes over and now is getting them out of a clinch. At long range again here in round 1. Graziano misses a left over the head, is countered by a left hook on the head by Zale. Zale biding his time. Shoots out a jab that's short, a sharp jab on the mouth by Zale, a short right hand to the body, and again they go into close quarters and tie each other up. Parted by the referee, they go back into action. Zale cautiously drives a right to the body, a left hook to the jaw, another left to the head, a right hand to the body by Tony Zale, and Rocky Graziano makes no return. He was down earlier in the round. Graziano takes a light left hook on the jaw, goes in, and they tie each other up in another clinch. The referee having a bit of trouble getting them apart this time. Now at long range again. Graziano shoots out a jab that's short, so does Zale, that's also short. Zale drives a left hook to the head, a connecting left by Tony Zale. He gets under a left by Rocky Graziano, who seems to be off his game at the moment. Graziano feints the left hand, drives a left hook to the jaw of Zale. Zale shoots out a left that's short, takes a left hook on the mouth, drives Graziano back with a left hook on the jaw. Graziano biding his time now, feints the left hand, takes a right to the body, a left hand to the head, and then puts his own left hook to the jaw of Zale as they go in close again. At long range, Graziano out of a crouch misses a sweeping right uppercut, then misses a left hand. He's short with the left. Zale puts a light left on the jaw, a hard jab on the mouth by Tony Zale, a right that goes to the back, a left hook that hurts Graziano, a right hand to the body, another left hook to the jaw, and Graziano is hurt again and against the ropes. He takes the left and the right to the head, and the bell rings, and nobody hears it.
After coming back from the brink of defeat to batter Zale in their second slugfest, Graziano declared that he had won the fight because somebody up there likes me. That, of course, is the title of the film that depicts Graziano's life story. Released in 1956, the film launched the movie career of Paul Newman, who starred as Graziano and also featured Tony Zale in a cameo role as himself. But did you know that another Hollywood legend appeared in the movie as well? Steve McQueen plays one of the young punks from Rocky's neighborhood. It was only his second movie appearance, and he didn't receive a screen credit. Speaking of credit, it's payback time for Tony Zale against his arch rival. Let's get back to their grand finale from 1948 and the bell for round 2.
Round 2 for the middleweight championship of the world. Rocky in the dark trunks, Zale in the purple trunks. The referee is Paul Cavalier. Rocky was down in the first round. Let's see how he does now. He's defending his title. Rocky comes in with a wild left that barely reaches the jaw of Tony Zale. Zale calmly drives the right hand to the head. Zale feints the left hand. Rocky coming in on him out of a half crouch, sticks out a left that's short of the mark. Graziano drives the left hand to the jaw. It gets in there. Zale goes into a crouch, gets away from the left. His own left is short. Graziano drives to the right to the body. He takes a left and a right to the jaw by Zale. Graziano is short with the left hand. Zale drives the right to the body. Rocky hooks his own left hand to the jaw. A light jab on the nose by Tony Zale. Graziano out of a half crouch. He bobs and weaves a lot. He comes in there with a lead right hand to the jaw. Another right to the jaw by Graziano. Zale sticks out a left that's short. Another jab by Zale is short of the mark. Graziano sticks out a left hand. It also is short. Graziano out of a half crouch gets away from a pecking left. Takes a left hook on the jaw by Zale. Graziano feinting the left hand, sticks out a left that's short. Another is short of the mark. Zale backing away, puts a light jab on the chin, takes a hard left jab to the jaw thrown by Graziano. Graziano takes a light jab on the nose. Zale biding his time, backs away, takes a grazing right to the chin, counters with a left that's blocked, and Graziano hooks a left hand to the jaw that may have hurt Zale. Graziano out of a half crouch takes a hard jab on the chin. Zale feigning the left hand, pecks away with that left jab again, ducks the right, fired at his head. Graziano out of a half crouch gets away from 3 left leads by Tony Zale. Graziano ducks another left hand, sticks out a left that's short, hooks the left hand to the jaw of Zale. Zale feints the left hand, gets away from a light left thrown at his body by Graziano. Graziano, a hard jab on the chin, drives Zale back a little bit. Graziano is the aggressor here in round 2. After being hurt in round 1, he takes a left and a right to the jaw. Graziano comes back with a short right to the jaw. That was a very hard punch. Zale comes in with a sizzling right to the jaw, a right to the body, a left hook to the head by Zale, and Graziano drives him back with 2 right hands to the head, and Zale goes in and holds on for a moment. The referee is Paul Cavalier as Zale drives a right to the body, a right to the jaw, putting Graziano on the ropes again. Graziano comes off the ropes, runs into a right to the body, and then gets away from a right. Graziano feints the left, hooks the left to the jaw, takes a jab on the mouth by Zale. Graziano's left goes to the head, a right, another left, and another right to the jaw by Graziano in his best rally of the fight so far. He puts another left hook to the jaw. He's evening things up here in round 2. A right to the jaw by Graziano, and then he misses a right and a left. Scores with another right to the jaw of Zale. Zale dances up and down, takes a right to the body. His left hand of the body is blocked by Graziano. And again, the referee gets them apart. It's round 2. Zale, biding his time, comes in with a hard left hook to the jaw of Graziano at the bell. Graziano, a hard right hand to the body of Zale. Zale, biding his time again, gets away from a right, drives a right to the body, a hard left hook to the jaw that may have hurt Graziano. Graziano is driven back and he's wobbly from a left hook to the jaw, and Zale is on him with a flurry of punches. Another left hook to the jaw, and Graziano almost goes down but doesn't. He takes a right to the body, a left hook to the jaw. Again, Graziano is staggered, and I don't know what's holding him up. He takes a right hand to the body. Zale drives the right hand that grazes the chin. Graziano comes back, fights gamely, but goes down from 2 left hooks on the jaw. And he's taking the count from referee Paul Cavalier. Graziano just up at the count of 8. He is a very wobbly young man. Zale coming after him again, trying for knockout. Drives a right to the body, a right and a left to the jaw. A left hook to the jaw, right uppercut on the mouth by Zale. A left hook to the jaw, and Graziano gamely fights back with the left hand to the chin. A right to the body, a left hook to the jaw by Zale again. And Graziano is prone on the canvas. And the count is 5, 6, 7, 8. He's not going to make it. 9, 10. He is knocked out, and Tony Zale has regained the middleweight championship of the world. The first middleweight to do that since Stanley Ketchel.
Graziano was down on the floor for 30 seconds after getting knocked out, and Zale's knockout win gave him the rubber match in their trilogy and a historic milestone, as he became the first middleweight champion to regain the crown since Stanley Ketchel did it in 1908. Sports Century with more now on the Zale-Graziano rivalry.
The middleweight champion of the world, Rocky Graziano.
We couldn't believe he came in the ring. He was very stiff and he wasn't animated. He wasn't warming up. He just standing there. He just had no fire.
And again, they go in and hold on and are tied up at long range again. Zale feints the left hand, comes in with a hard left hook to the jaw, and Rocky Graziano is down. It's a flash knockdown. He's right up without a count.
Rocky said to me that he never remembered anything beyond the first round.
Zale biding his time again, gets away from the right, drives a right to the body, a hard left hook to the jaw that may have hurt Graziano. Graziano is driven back and he's wobbly from a left hook to the jaw, and Zale is on him with a flurry of punches. Another left hook to the jaw, and Graziano almost goes down but doesn't.
Zale came out the 3rd round, bam, left hooks, whoa. We got scared. Rocky looked like he was hurt bad.
Again, Graziano is staggered, and I don't know what's holding him up.
He took such a beating and went down 3 times.
Zale is short with a pecking left hand. He drives Rocky to the ropes, driving a left hand to the body, a right to the jaw. Graziano comes back, fights gamely, but goes down from 2 left hooks on the jaw.
He just climbed up on the ropes, the 1st strand, the 2nd strand, the 3rd strand, and he went back into the ropes. It was terrible to let it go on, and Tony Zale, just knocked him out. He was just like a dead man.
A left hook to the jaw by Zale again, and Graziano is prone on the canvas. And the count is 5, 6, 7, 8. He's not going to make it. 9, 10. He is knocked out, and Tony Zale has regained the middleweight championship of the world.
He and Zale fought a total of 15 rounds in 3 contests. The most exciting 15 rounds in the middleweight division of the century.
Next on the card, one of the nastiest rivalries in all of boxing, Willie Pep versus Sandy Sadler. These 2 gladiators who truly despised one another inside and outside the ring. These two battled for the featherweight crown 4 times, mutual animosity increasing with each bout. Both fighters frequently resorted to dirty tactics. We have this quote now from the New York Times after their 4th and final fight in 1951. The quote, "For roughness, disregard of ring rules, and ethics and wild fighting, this surpassed anything seen in the 3 previous meetings of these bitter ring rivals." Both fighters were guilty of the collar and elbow, rough and tumble style of fighting made famous on the waterfront. Bert Sugar, was it that bad?
They did everything. They didn't break the rules. They bent them so much so you didn't recognize the rules. Willie Pep was magnificent, by the by, a great featherweight champion. If Ray Robinson had a run of undefeated, with only, not undefeated, but with only 1 loss, 132 fights, Willie Pep has similar, if not greater run of unbeaten streak. Except one thing, Willie as the featherweight champion was in a plane crash in 1947 where it was feared he would never walk again. 6 months later, he's back as the featherweight champion fighting and again winning. Now comes his next challenge in 48, a man named Sandy Sadler. Well, to understand Sandy Sadler, you must understand that he's fighting in the 126-pound featherweight division. He's 5'9½", 5'10". He's thin enough that he looks like he could work in an olive factory dragging the pimento through. He is so tall. Here's Willie, here's Sandy Sadler. Sandy Sadler knocks him out in the 4th round. A bodacious right hand, and Sandy Sadler has, I think, the 3rd most knockouts in boxing history. They now fight again the next year, in 1949. And again, Sadler is heavily favored. Well, Willie is determined to win. Now, this is probably one of the, and they called him the Will-o'-the-Wisp for a good reason. He'd be here, there, everywhere. It was like a moonbeam. In this fight, he's got to take on Sadler, and Sadler's style, again, and height are bewildering as they push, shove, elbow, kick. And one time, Sadler has got Pep on the ropes, about ready to deliver a punch. Pep falls to his knees, climbs through Sadler's legs, and hits him from behind. I mean, they did everything. And Willie was that quick. But still, he was having a lot of trouble with Sadler, and he told me, he said, until he stepped on his toes once. And Sadler said, ouch. He said, I stepped on his toes all night.
To get something on him.
He won the 2nd fight, one of the greatest exhibits I have ever seen. 3rd fight, 4th fight, and the one you referenced, they were brawls. Sadler hurt his arm, hurt Pep's arm in the 3rd, he retired, and he hurt it again in the 4th, and he retired again. But in that 4th fight, they're entwined in a clinch on the ropes, and the referee tries to break it up. They just push him down. Yeah, the hell with this. They just, both of them, shove them down to get at each other. No, as you say, this was a rivalry that was really emphasized by dislike from each for the other.
Carmen, you were friends with Willie Pep. What type of man was Willie Pep?
I was friends with Willie.
What type of man was he?
I thought he was a great fighter. Very clever, very tricky.
Do you know once?
Pretty fair puncher, too.
You know, I think half those guys just collapsed out of exhaustion trying to catch him.
Run him out of gas.
Yeah.
That's right.
There was one moment in one fight, Jackie Graves, 1943. He told people, Jackie Graves was a hell of a left-handed puncher. He told people in the press before the fight, watch me in the 3rd round. I won't land a punch, I'll win the round. He fainted, he moved, he spun him.
That's the famous round. Yeah.
Guess what? He won the round on all cards.
Yep.
That's how good Willie Pep was.
Best
he was
defensive
great.
fighter. Yeah.
He was great. Very clever, very quick.
I have him as the 3rd greatest fighter in the history of boxing.
Best defensive fighter?
Easily, but who knows defense if you can't hit him?
Right.
I mean, as opposed to, with all deference to the gentleman on my left, when he was fighting Fulmer, if they were lawyers, they could have said the defense rests. With Willie, it was always an action.
Welcome back to ESPN Classics Ringside from Gleason's Gym. Sugar Ray Robinson and Jake LaMotta fought 6 times. LaMotta handed Robinson his first career loss in 1943. But the best remembered fight from their series of legendary slugfests is the last one, the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. LaMotta, the Raging Bull himself, trained for the fight at Gleason's.
So let's drop in to Bobby Gleason's gym in the Bronx, where LaMotta usually trains whenever a tough assignment awaits him. Leading his handlers up the stairs, the middleweight champion LaMotta dethroned the stout-hearted French Moroccan Marcel Cerdan in 1949 and has since successfully defended his title in 3 engagements. The bell rings. Jake stops whatever he's doing. Consequently, the exact amount of time is spent on each phase of training. His beautiful blonde wife is a familiar sight wherever LaMotta trains. LaMotta, in the black trunks, is an aggressive, free-swinging fighter. He has power in either hand, and he excels in bull-like, brutal body attacks. Jake can also take a terrific battering without showing any ill effects. Endurance and stamina have always been in LaMotta's favor, but the wear and tear of the ring has taken their toll, and Jake faces a severe test against Sugar Ray. Robinson and LaMotta have fought 5 times, with Sugar Ray emerging victorious on 4 occasions. Five years have elapsed since their last meeting. LaMotta, since acquiring the middleweight title, has become a very cautious fighter. But come February 14, caution will be thrown to the wind as the champions meet his severest test, the dazzling and hard-punching Ray Robinson.
Well, much of what is known now about Jake LaMotta, I think, rests on Raging Bull and what we've seen this generation, what they've seen of Jake LaMotta. So, Bert, let me start with you. What type of man was Jake LaMotta?
Well, first of all, they say he was a great puncher. He only went to the body because he had very fragile hands, very small hands. In fact, he would have to shoot him with Novocaine before a fight. They were that fragile. Also, they talk about Robinson and LaMotta. LaMotta started in the amateurs as 189 pounds. You can see it in his frame. He then fought his first year as a pro as a light heavyweight, 175. Then came down to middleweight by starving himself, so that he would be training on water just to keep 160. He was, he was an unusual fighter in terms of making the most out of what he had. And he was a great fighter, and there's one point in that Raging Bull that he claims never happened. He never went across the ring and said anything to Ray Robinson after that fight because he had to sit on a stool for 20 minutes.
After not going down. Something he took pride in later in life, throughout his life, saying he never went down.
But he had to sit on a stool, so he never went over to tell Ray, hey, you didn't knock me down.
Right. Pete, what are your recollections of LaMotta?
Well, the reputation he had around New York, among other fighters, was that he was one of the worst human beings who ever lived.
Okay.
And I think that after Walter O'Malley died, he probably had full claim on that title. But he was, as Bert said, a great fighter, I think. And determination, heart, will. Even in the fights that he did some business, the Billy Fox fight and some others, he still refused to go down. He would take the beating. And I don't think he was so crucial to Robinson as Dave points out in his wonderful book, as Fritzy Zivik was. When Ray finally fought Zivik, who was one of the dirtiest fighters ever and tough, and came out the other end, I think Ray knew then how good he was.
He said he learned more from fighting him, Zivik, than all the other fights put together.
Dave, what did Ray Robinson say about his battles with LaMotta?
Well, the one thing I remember is, and you're probably right, Bert, I don't think he said, you didn't knock me down. But I remember Ray telling me that as they left the ring, he looked over and everything in Jake's face said that.
Yeah.
He was sneering as if to say, you still didn't knock me down.
He gave away a lot of size in those fights.
Yeah,
Dave, what did he say? He was like 15, 16 pounds.
That was one of the first Matador bullfights. And Ray said the Matador always wins. And except for that first fight, he always did.
He did more damage to Jake LaMotta on February 14th, the St. Valentine's Day Massacre, I think, than the Capone gang did to Bugs Moran 22 years earlier. At least LaMotta got up or didn't go down. The other poor 7 guys on Clark Street are still there, I think.
Well, LaMotta didn't have any holes in them.
I think the early fights were tougher because Ray was still growing out of the welterweight division.
Sure.
And so if Jake was really 165 when he came in after eating or more, he probably had a good lot of weight on Ray when Ray was 152, 53 really for those fights.
He was probably also the first tough bull-type fighter that Ray fought. When Ray was fighting at an earlier weight, younger weight, you know, you didn't get a guy like that. And all of a sudden, here was this guy in front of him.
All right, they fought 6 times. This is the one that exists on film right now. Sugar Ray Robinson, welterweight champion of the world. Jake LaMotta, the middleweight champion of the world. They met Chicago Stadium, February 14th, 1951. One of the most famous fights in boxing history. And for the first time here on ESPN Classic, we present the bout using the radio call of the legendary Russ Hodges over the original telecast, enhanced also by a 16mm film.
No rapid punching, no kidney punches. Be careful of your low punches, they may cost you a round. In case of a knockdown, I want you to go to your furthest corner and stay there till I tell you to come out fighting. Any questions? Shake hands and come out fighting.
Now we're ready for the action in this fight, and here is your blow-by-blow announcer, Russ Hodges. And believe you me, Jack Drees, this stacks up to be a real Pabst Blue Ribbon event. Sugar Ray, cool and confident. Jake LaMotta continues to shadow box over his corner as they get the warning buzzer for round 1 in what, well, it should be the dream bout of the last 10 or 15 years. And here's the bell for round 1, and out they come. LaMotta in a crouch. Robinson leads first to the left hand of the forehead, but it was light. LaMotta leads with a left hand of the head, then goes to the midsection of Sugar Ray with a long left hand that shook Ray up quite a bit. LaMotta trying to use his superior strength and weight in the infighting, bulling around. His left hand goes into Sugar Ray's forehead, but very left, very short. Here is a light left-hander from Sugar Ray now on the nose of LaMotta. Then Sugar Ray buries a right hand down in the midsection of Jake, the boy from the Bronx. Here is Robinson stabbing away at the forehead with his left hand, and the nose of LaMotta is reddening a bit as Robinson misses a long overhand right hand and then retreats as LaMotta pounds away at the midsection and is tied up partially by Robbie. Then Robbie finishes the clinch, and LaMotta and Jake's right eye is reddening quite a bit as Robinson continues to stab and run. Not really running, but continuing to move. Robinson with 2 light left comes inside, chops the right hand at the ear of the middleweight champion of the world, Sugar Ray, of course, the welterweight, fighting at 155 tonight. And here is LaMotta trying to bull Robbie around and throw him away, and Robbie just held on as they break out of the clinch. LaMotta coming in very low, and it's Robinson stabbing away at that eye, and he continues the left hand, and now LaMotta with 2 left hands high on the forehead of Robinson, and a left hook from Jake LaMotta. The forehead of LaMotta reddening a bit as he throws a left hand at Sugar Ray's head, and Sugar Ray was not there. Ray weaves and bobs as he comes in and lashes the nose twice with his left hand, and LaMotta misses a vicious left hook for the head of Sugar Ray. Then Ray continues to retreat and misses a left hook of his own at the head of Jake LaMotta. Now LaMotta with 2 left hands to the midsection, and a left hook to the head, and Robinson moves back to the ropes, now moves in. LaMotta swelling a bit beneath the right eye. Robinson lashes out with 2 light left hands for the forehead, another light left hand. As LaMotta comes in with his left hand high on Sugar's forehead, Sugar backing away. Robinson beating a retreat as LaMotta chasing him around the ring now, and then goes to work on the midsection with 2 left hooks, and Sugar Ray staggers away from the force of the Bronx Bull. LaMotta inside, fighting powerfully, goes with the left hook under the heart, and Robinson breaks ground again as Jake is content to take the left to the face. Now LaMotta pounding to the midsection with a left and a right. Robinson continuing to move, and he has started to muss up the nose of Jake LaMotta a bit with that constant left hand. LaMotta's left hand hooking for the nose of Sugar Ray, slid on over the nose, and Robinson has LaMotta pawing at the nose, and LaMotta seems to stagger Robbie a bit as Robbie was going along the ropes. LaMotta buries his left hand deep in Robinson's midsection, and then Jake misses a long left hand thrown for the head, and Jake starts to throw that lethal right of his with about 5 seconds left to go in round 1. Robinson short with left hand, and there's the bell to end round.
For round number 4. Sugar Ray Robinson in the white.
Robinson lashing out with a left hand, and another straight left from Ray. A left hook by LaMotta, high on the forehead. LaMotta very powerful. Inside, runs into a terrific right hand, and a left hook. Robinson nails him on the rope opposite our Pabst Blue Ribbon microphone, but LaMotta held on and weathered the storm. Then LaMotta ran into an uppercut, and a severe left hook, and LaMotta staggers across the ring and weaves and bobs to escape Robinson as Robinson nails him with left and right and chases him with that straight left of his, but LaMotta
keeps plodding on after being badly hurt by a terrific right hand that landed on his ear. Now Robbie nails him over the left eye with a straight left again. Robinson bleeding from the mouth as Jake LaMotta continues to club with his left hand when he gets in close to Sugar Ray. Ray's superior reach taking its toll. Robinson with the left of the nose and another left, and he backs away from the left of the head. And a right cross by Robbie, and it staggered Jake, and he almost went down. He missed a bristling right uppercut to the whiskers that would have put LaMotta down for the first time in his ring career. Now backing away is Robbie as he bleeds from the mouth a bit, and Jake plods in, and a right cross from Sugar Ray, and LaMotta's hurt and may go down. He went down almost to his knees to escape the punch, but nothing touched the floor. Now, a left hand in from Sugar Ray again as Jake comes moving in on him. It's the right hand of Robinson that started to take its toll as Robbie sets him up for it with those continuous left jabs of his. Two left jabs by Robbie, a right uppercut that he misses, and a left hook that he misses, and then he pushes Jake LaMotta away. And LaMotta, now as Robinson backs out of LaMotta's own corner, and it's Robbie starting a right hand. He doesn't throw it. He misses a short left to the midsection. And LaMotta lands a short left into the nose of Sugar Ray. LaMotta goes inside with a right hand to the midsection and then shoots his left hand in for Sugar Ray's head. Ray moving in with two lefts to the eyes. Flicking in that left hand, but it's annoying and it's rolling up a lot of points for Sugar. Sugar backing away, crossing his right hand to LaMotta. And LaMotta moves back in his tag with a right uppercut and a right cross and a left hook by Sugar Ray. And then Ray gets inside to tie him up with a minute left to go in round 4. LaMotta going on the attack now, following Sugar Ray around. Ray moving always away from the left hand of Jake, and Jake tags him with the left hand as Sugar moves to the rope. LaMotta with a straight left hand for the nose of Sugar Ray, which appears to be swollen just a bit. Now LaMotta with a left hook to the midsection. A terrific left hook to the head, and Robinson appeared to be addled a bit by that tremendous blow, which is probably the worst he has taken so far tonight. Now LaMotta down to the midsection with a left hand and a right cross that had Sugar covering up. Ray once again uses his left hand to try to slow down the bull from the Bronx of New York. Robinson has his left hook blocked, intending for the midsection of Jake LaMotta. Here's Robbie with his left hand out, but LaMotta goes in with the jab. Twice to the eyes of Sugar Ray, and Robinson lands a terrific left hook on Jake LaMotta's jaw as LaMotta was coming in. Then LaMotta with a left hand to Sugar Ray's jaw, and they're using the left hands now quite freely. Both boys jabbing as the bell ends round 4.
The fifth round of a 15-round World Championship fight for the middleweight title here in Chicago, and there they go. Both boys have attending physicians in their corners tonight with honorary second cards. Two minutes to go of round number 5. That brought blood from Robinson's nostril. The left with the right cross. 1 minute to go, round number 5.
Half a minute to go of the 5th round. 1/2 a minute to go. There's the bell ending round number 5.
Mouthpiece for round 7. Jake LaMotta getting some final words of instruction before he comes out. And here we go for round 7 for the middleweight championship of the world. A real Pabst Blue Ribbon event. Here's a straight left by Robbie, as LaMotta has been content to take Robinson's Sunday punches and just try to get in his own. Here is another left hand by Robinson, and he runs into a left hook just thrown by the middleweight champion. Another left hand in by Sugar Ray. LaMotta fighting as though he's a man with a grim destiny, moves in and tags that right jaw of Robbie's again with his left hand. And they exchange good left hooks, and both boys felt them and felt them plenty. Robinson misses a long overhand right, thrown for that rock rib chin of the Bronx Bull. Now LaMotta comes in and is tagged over the eye with a left hand, then buries his left hand under the heart of Sugar Ray and wrestles him along the ropes. And Sugar Ray breaks the roll along the ropes and shoots his left hand in for the nose of Jake LaMotta. Robbie moving away again. LaMotta following him around with that peculiar crouch, that ape-like crouch that he uses, but he certainly seems to be able to get those blows in. Now as Jake starts to come in, Robbie buries a right hand into the midsection of Jake LaMotta. A straight left hand in there by Robbie, and he almost tripped as he was moving away, but it was not as a result of a blow. Now over in Robinson's own corner, LaMotta had him tied up, but Robbie skidded along the ropes and got away. A left hand in by Robinson on the nose of LaMotta. LaMotta clubs his right hand to the body, is tagged with a short left hand on the chin, as Jake is always moving to the attack and gets that chin of his into a lot of trouble, but he can punch his way out of it. Robinson drifting back now as LaMotta comes to him. Outside of a little blood from the nose of Robinson, this has been a very clean fight from that respect. Now LaMotta is tagged with a right cross as he moved into Sugar Ray. Sugar Ray with the left hand, and Robinson along the ropes. LaMotta follows him around, his eyes very grim, very determined. Robinson is staggered with a tremendous left hook as he breaks ground to go over to his own corner. We can see his eyes are clear, and he makes LaMotta miss a terrific left hand thrown for the head. And here is Robinson missing a left hook thrown for the head of Jake LaMotta. Then he scores with a straight left hand on the chin of Jake. Here's Robbie scoring with 2 left hands on the chin now. And a right cross by Sugar, one of his best right hands of the night. And LaMotta just sinks a little lower in his crouch, comes up in the clinch, and hangs on. Another left hand by Sugar Ray on the nose of Jake LaMotta. And another left hand and a right cross. And Robbie missed a right hand, a terrific right hand, as LaMotta was weaving away from him. Now Jake, with his gloves up very high, continues to plod in. Robbie bounces away and scores with a left hook to Jake as Jake landed his right hand down to the midsection. And it's LaMotta with 2 left hands in for the forehead of Sugar Ray. Then LaMotta with a 2-fisted attack to the body, but when he moved it up to the head, Robinson was not there. Now LaMotta with a left hand in on the nose of Sugar Ray as Ray beats a retreat. Then the exchange left hand, the straight left hand. Now a 2-fisted attack by LaMotta once again downstairs on Sugar Ray, but Ray was picking them off on his gloves. Now LaMotta with a straight left into the chin, and it appeared to hurt Ray just a bit. Ray moving away. LaMotta follows him around. A left hand under the eye of Jake LaMotta, and another left with Sugar Ray as LaMotta gets way inside, starts to throw his right and holds it up, and Sugar Ray breaks it.
You know, I think Jake LaMotta's line was probably the best. He fought Sugar Ray so many times, he got sugar diabetes, you know? And every fight was a great fight. Every fight was a great fight. I don't think in all the fights that Sugar Ray, as great as he was, ever even knocked down Jake. You know, they were just, they were wars. They were literally wars out there, you know?
Coming 8 rounds will tell, and it's LaMotta burying his right fist into the midsection, having his left hand blocked with Sugar Ray. And Ray, as LaMotta comes in, lays that left hand of his right in on the nose. Another left hand by Sugar Ray. Here's LaMotta moving in, and his nose once again runs into that fist as he tries to bring back his right hand and throw it. It's LaMotta coming into that crouch again. Robinson started to move to the attack with the right hand, and as he saw LaMotta bring back his right fist, he moved away. LaMotta plods in. Robinson backs away from a left hook that landed on the midsection. Here's Robbie picking off the head of Jake LaMotta with 2 left hands, straight ones into the head. LaMotta punching to the body now more than he was in the earlier round. And it's LaMotta throwing a right hand partially blocked with the left shoulder of Sugar Ray Robinson. Sugar Ray missing a right uppercut, misses the left hook. And LaMotta continues to just bounce in on him and misses his left hook as Robbie breaks ground and moves back again. LaMotta misses a short left hook for the head. Jake missing more in this round than he has so far. Robinson using the left hand, a sticking left hand in there. And LaMotta switches his attack to the body, and Robinson picks them off with his elbows. Then they exchange left hands into the bridge of the nose. Another left by Sugar Ray. The left eye of LaMotta reddening, but not starting to swell. Both boys in superb condition. Here is a left hand, a wheeling left hook missed by Sugar Ray Robinson as Jake LaMotta was moving inside. Now Robbie, with his hair plastered down from the water they've used on him, bounces away, and Jake goes in with a couple of left hooks high on the head. Here's Robinson tagging LaMotta to the midsection with the left hand, then LaMotta goes in with a two-footed attack, scores with one left hook and misses the one that might have put Robinson down as Sugar Ray moves in. Now Ray moves in with a straight right cross into the chin, a good one, and a straight left hand to the nose, and a swinging right by Ray that misses its target, and he lands his left jab, and LaMotta runs into that left jab and misses the left hook of his own. Jake just continues to stalk. He misses with his left hook and then runs into two left hands on the chin as Robinson has hit him a million times tonight, and Jake doesn't appear to mind him at all. Now Robbie continues to move away as LaMotta was pumping his left hand on the top of the head. Here's Robinson with two left hands into the nose, a right uppercut by Jake, and then Sugar Ray lands a right uppercut of his own. It landed, however, down on the chest rather than on the chin as Jake had that chin well protected, believe you me. Here's a couple of left hands by Robinson. He misses a long right hand. He misses another long right hand. And Jake LaMotta grabs him and ties him up here in round 8 with about 30 seconds left to go. LaMotta scoring with a steering left hook, and Robinson breaks ground and moves away. Then Robbie bounces back and makes LaMotta miss a right hand, and Robbie scores with a good left hook thrown in close. Robbie with a flurry of left and rights to the head and a right hand down onto the heart here in the last 15 seconds now of round 8 at Chicago Stadium. Another left hand by Robinson to Jake LaMotta. LaMotta with a long right hand to the head of Sugar Ray. And Ray steps inside, misses the left, misses the right, scores the left hook as he was really throwing that leather. And there's the bell for the end of round 8 in Chicago Stadium. Is going nice. And round 9, where conditions will have to start telling, and it's LaMotta going to work on the midsection with the left hand. Robinson tries to hold him at bay with his straight left hand in for the nose. It's Jake LaMotta plodding in, and he runs into a savage left hook as thrown by Sugar Ray Robinson. Robinson with the left hand down on the nose as he was hitting down on Jake, who's in his crouch. Now Sugar Ray tries to straighten that head of his up with a couple of bouncing left hands off that nose. Jake comes into that bear-like crouch of his, and as he starts to throw his left hand, Sugar Ray Robinson ties him up. This scrap has not been marred by much clinching. They've been laying it on all the way. Robinson is away from the left hook that LaMotta started to throw. Then Sugar Ray nails the head with a straight left hand as Jake was coming in. Here's Robinson with the right hand down for the midsection, partially blocked with the left glove of LaMotta. LaMotta comes in, scores with the left hook, and runs into a straight left hand thrown by Sugar Ray Robinson, the welterweight king, fighting the middleweight king, Jake LaMotta, tonight at Chicago Stadium. Here's a left hand by LaMotta that lands on the forehead of Sugar Ray. Sugar Ray almost slips in the center of the ring as he started to throw a right, held it up, moved away. Landed a couple of lefts of his own. Another left by Sugar Ray as he pushes Jake LaMotta away. Two left hands bounce off the forehead. And another one is thrown by Sugar Ray. And Jake misses a wild roundhouse swing. The gallery cheered there, but LaMotta's right hand was just a bit short. Here, two more left hands by Sugar Ray. And a right cross by Sugar. And then he fell into Jake as though he thought Jake might go down, but Jake was having no part of going down. LaMotta misses a long looping overhand right as Jake has been really trying to score with that right hand tonight, and he's landed it on a couple of good occasions. LaMotta runs into a left uppercut and a straight left from Sugar Ray, then goes inside and is tagged twice on the right ear with Robinson's left hook. Here is LaMotta pulling to the ropes, and we almost had a guess down here, but Robinson slid away. Here's Robbie as LaMotta stalks into him. Robbie continuing to flick out that left hand, ready to throw the right. LaMotta with a couple of left jabs of his own to the face of Sugar Ray. And LaMotta with a good left hand down to the solar plexus. Had a lot behind that one. Then he misses a left hook to the head of Ray. And then runs into a right uppercut thrown by Robinson. A left hand in for LaMotta's rock rib chin by Sugar Ray Robinson. And Robinson lands three straight left hands and misses a right hook without having a blow-in exchange by Jake LaMotta. Then Jake pushes Robbie away, throws a left hand in under the heart. Jake appears to be tiring a bit. He runs into a right uppercut and a left uppercut thrown by Sugar Ray and a straight left thrown by Ray Robinson. Then in Robinson's own corner, LaMotta gets him tied up but misses the blows that would have counted. He missed the left hook and the right cross. Another straight left hand in by Sugar Ray, with LaMotta following him around, and LaMotta staggers just a bit from the left hook thrown by Ray again. And Ray, with two straight left hands on the chin, bounces LaMotta away from there, and LaMotta staggers. And then Ray sends another beautiful looping right hand on the chin of Jake. Jake pins Bobby in the rope opposite our Pabst Blue Ribbon microphone, but misses the right hand that would have hurt Robbie. Robbie very accurate now with his left and his right, and LaMotta backs away from a searing left hook as the bell ended round 9. Both boys on their feet ready to go for round 10. And Robinson tries to tee off with his right hand, and LaMotta slid under the right hand thrown by the welterweight champion Sugar Ray. Then Ray bounces his left hand off LaMotta's nose, moves inside with a left hook, then breaks ground. LaMotta goes in with two left hands high on the forehead of Sugar Ray. Ray with a good left hook, and then he misses the right cross in the business end of the 1-2. Jake LaMotta pushes him away, follows in. LaMotta with his left hand high on the forehead. Then Jake blinking a bit with his right eye. Ran into another of those patented left hooks of Sugar Ray. And Ray staggers LaMotta and sends him back to the rope with a left uppercut. And a left hook, and LaMotta came walking into him with his hands down as though to say, go ahead and hit me. And Robinson backs away and jabs once, twice, 3 times to the chin of Jake LaMotta. LaMotta missing 2 left hands in for the forward. Then he scores with a high right hand over the eye of Sugar Ray. Ray spins out of the corner, wheels away, then misses the left hook, then scores with a straight left hand in for the mouth of the middleweight champion of the world, Jake LaMotta. Robbie with 2 left hands in on the nose and another left hand by Robinson, as LaMotta is not doing much swinging, and he fades away from a right overhand right thrown by Sugar Ray Robinson. Here is Robinson with a left hand in for the forward and a left hook in for the chin of Jake LaMotta, and Robinson pounds his right hand in on the chin of the Bronx Bull. LaMotta just plodding in, tagged with left and left and left as Robinson continues to lash out with that left hand, and then Robbie backs away from the left hook. The only blow really thrown in this round by Jake LaMotta. Robinson felt the midsection of LaMotta with a tremendous right hand as LaMotta was coming in. Robinson with 2 left hands in for the nose. And then Jake going into his bear-like crouch once again. Here in round 10, here's a left hook by Robbie that is partially blocked. LaMotta weaves away and is tagged with 2 left hands as Sugar Ray leaps to the attack once again. As Sugar Ray appears to be starting to fight the fight that he wanted to all the way. 2 left hands in Beret on that swollen face of Jake LaMotta. Right uppercut snaps LaMotta's head back, and then at close quarter, LaMotta clinches just briefly, then pushes Robinson away. Robinson 2 left hands in the nose, another left hook by Sugar Ray as he's just about calling his shot. A right hand by Robinson, and LaMotta looks a bit bewildered now and certainly very tired. 2 left hands in for the forehead of LaMotta and a right uppercut by Sugar Ray Robinson. And LaMotta takes them all and refuses to go down. Sugar Ray bounces away, his left hand's in on the forehead. Twice, 3 times, 4 times. LaMotta scores with a clean shot, but it landed on the top of the head of Sugar Ray. 2 left hands in by Robbie, and a left hook and a right cross, and LaMotta was glad to grab and hang on. He was in real distress that time. 25 seconds left in round 10. LaMotta running into Sugar Ray. Ray continuing to lash out with his left hand. Conditions starting to tell here in this round. Another straight left by Robbie, and another one and a short left hook by Jake LaMotta. LaMotta peppered on the nose 3 times by Robinson's left hand, and Robbie misses a long overhand right and nails Jake coming in with a left hook and a right cross and a right uppercut by Sugar Ray Robinson. Almost put Jake LaMotta down, but he battles in and was still on his feet trying to throw leather when the bell ended round 10.
He was voted. Last year they voted. Did you know that? Pound for pound, the greatest fighter that ever lived. And we fought 6 times. And you don't fight 6 times unless they're very close. I hypnotized myself that nobody could hurt me. I didn't know at the time I was hypnotizing myself, but I convinced myself so strongly that nobody could hurt me. And Robinson couldn't knock me down. I was helpless. I couldn't lift up my arms. He couldn't knock me down. I was helpless because after all the weight I lost and what I had to go through, and for 10 rounds I wouldn't have fight, but I couldn't lift up my arms. For the next 3 rounds I couldn't lift up my arms. Then he was hitting me and I make a joke out of it. But he had no power in his punches. He was hitting me so much he had no power. His arm was tired.
Well, there's no question Jake LaMotta had respect for Sugar Ray Robinson, and that the Raging Bull took a lot of pride in his ability to take punishment from his nemesis. Punishment, though, hardly does justice to the furious battering LaMotta withstood in round 11.
On their feet, ready to go for round 11, and it's Robinson missing an overhand right. First blow of the round. Then as LaMotta tries for the midsection, he's tagged by a short right uppercut by Sugar Ray. And Ray beats his retreat as LaMotta plods in, and it's Robinson with 2 straight left hands in for the nose, and a right uppercut and a thumper in there by Sugar Ray. It's almost bounced the mouthpiece out of Jake LaMotta, the middleweight champion's face. Here's a left hook for Sugar Ray, and he spins away from Jake LaMotta as Jake follows him around. A left hand down under the heart of Jake. Here is the left hand of Robinson, very busy, and a left hook goes in by Sugar Ray. LaMotta just plodding in, very gamely, and he does throw one left hook that Sugar Ray backs away from. Ray gets over in a neutral corner and is away from the right hand thrown by Jake LaMotta, and then as LaMotta comes in, missing with left and right, Robinson just moves away from him. Now LaMotta gets Sugar Ray up in LaMotta's own corner, lands a left and a right, another left and another right, and Robinson does not put up his hand as LaMotta's got him in trouble. And it's Robinson rolling away, and a right hand from LaMotta, and a left hook for Robbie, and then Robbie out of it with a left hook, and a right smash to the body, and Chicago Stadium goes mad as LaMotta had Sugar Ray Robinson in genuine trouble, and Robbie, great fighter that he is, came out of it to take the exchange, and Robinson misses the left hand for the midsection, scores with the right cross to the jaw, and LaMotta falls into a very tired clinch as Jake shot most of everything that he had in that first 30 seconds of round 11. Robinson with 2 left hands in for the nose of Jake LaMotta. Another left hand by Sugar Ray. Sugar Ray with a right cross to Jake LaMotta's left eye as Jake was coming in. That rock rib chin of the champion, how he can take it. A left hand and a right uppercut by Sugar Ray. The left hand was straight, the uppercut right into the chin. Another straight left with Sugar Ray and another straight left. LaMotta, this is a left hook thrown for the head. Sugar Ray backing away, lands the left to the midsection. And Robinson is warned for a low punch. And Robinson drew a warning from Frank Secor. Then he scores with a left uppercut, a right cross. LaMotta staggers to the rope, and he may go, but he used the rope to support him. Now he stalks back in on Sugar Ray. Ray with the left of the body, and then LaMotta gains so that he is slugs back with a left hook for the chin. And Frank Secor, the referee, breaks him. With 45 seconds, there's a dazed, bewildered look in LaMotta's eyes as he plods in on Sugar Ray. And Ray belts him under the heart with a right hand, a right uppercut, a left hook, another left hook for LaMotta. He staggers back on his heels, but he does not go down. Robinson with another left hand. LaMotta staggers to the rope. A right cross nails him on the chin. He clinches with Robbie. 30 seconds to go. It's a tired LaMotta now. Robinson calling his shot. Left hand into the chin. Another left hand into the chin. Another right hand might do it. And Jake LaMotta, who has never been down in 94 fights, is in danger of going down as he's hit with a left hook. Robinson with a right uppercut. The champion is reeling across the ring. He runs into a right. Robinson slices him in the nose with a right hand. And there's 10 seconds to go in round 11. And Robinson scores with a right uppercut, a left hook, a right uppercut. And Jake LaMotta is still on his feet. And what is keeping him up there? And the bell ends round 11.
Wow, is what we can say. That's incredible punishment.
I hurt.
Wow.
As we watched it, I said to Pete, he's the only fighter, really, when you think about it, who could be moving backwards and still be the aggressor.
And he was landing every punch cleanly going backward.
Oh, yeah.
Russ Hodges with the call there, who, as we talked about as well, later that year would be screaming the Giants win the pennant. And with the call in that fight, that's the 11th round. Early on, Sugar Ray Robinson absorbing a lot of punishment. He took real shots, a barrage of shots from LaMotta, and seemingly unfazed by it, Bert.
Well, but he went into that fight with a battle plan, and it was to wear out LaMotta by letting him, almost like Ali and Foreman, letting him wilt down like, you know, a hose that you turn the pressure off of. I mean, here's LaMotta. He's going at him. Robinson is bobbing and weaving. He's taking some punches, but blocking a heck of a lot of them, but he's letting him throw punches and then coming off the ropes, doing his damage.
Just the 12th round?
Now, Robinson comes back. He's got real power. These are sharp, hard punches.
And he's hitting him with everything he throws. I mean, you know,
he doesn't miss.
He mails them. Here it is, take it.
There weren't many missed punches there.
This is something that you'd get a high percentage on CompuBox today.
Pete, what are your thoughts watching this when you see Robinson come back with that?
That he's even better than I thought.
Right, yeah, right, that's it. And then you, wow.
Right.
Nobody should ever call themselves Sugar ever again.
Well, in fact, he fought a fighter named George Sugar Costner.
Sugar Costner.
And
at the weigh-in.
At the weigh-in, he said, "How
he walked up to
dare
him,
you?"
No, at the weigh-in, he walked up to him and said, "Sugar, there's only one Sugar. Don't, you know, I'm the only Sugar."
And how long did it take him to knock him out?
Like seconds.
1 round.
Yeah.
He was
seconds.
the only person. In fact, I think Ray Leonard called him to get permission.
He did. That's
to get
right.
the name, to use the name.
And Ray
Sugar
gave
Ray.
him permission, but he, I wish he hadn't. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. That's the 11th round.
But that's how he came by that name. In fact, it was Jack Case who said to George Gainford
in Watertown, New York.
He said that you've got a sweet fighter there.
Right.
And he said, sweet as sugar.
That's right.
All right, that's the 11th round. Let's pick it up again after that battering. It's not over just yet. LaMotta still on his feet. Let's go to round 12.
Frank Secora had not heard the bell. All right, there is the bell for round 12 to get underway. And it's Jake LaMotta with a chin of his running into two right hands by Sugar Ray as Ray is teeing him up with his left hand now and trying to put him down, something that Jake has never done in his professional career. A left hook and a right uppercut and a straight left to the chin of Jake LaMotta. And Jake staggers back above our Pabst Blue Ribbon microphone, and he's in real trouble. Robinson pounds him to the midsection with a right hand. LaMotta comes inside and is tagged twice on the nose with Robinson's vicious left. Another left hand by Sugar Ray. Another left for Sugar Ray as he looks for the opening for the right, and he throws it, and he lands. Then he misses a right uppercut, and Jake falls into a clinch and hangs on. Now Jake following Sugar Ray around, ever willing. Robinson with three left hooks in the right leg of Jake LaMotta skidded and almost won out from under him, but he was able to get some traction and stand up. Robinson pecking away at the forehead, scores with his right cross after two left hands, another left by Sugar Ray. LaMotta pounding in there and is tagged under the right eye with a right hand, and he once again falls into a clinch with only 1 minute gone in round 12. Robinson with a left hand for the nose, a right hand for the midsection, a right uppercut by Sugar Ray, a left hook, and LaMotta cannot get his hands up. He staggers around the ring, and Robinson belabors him with left and right, and LaMotta grabs him and hangs on. It's one of the most merciless beatings I've ever seen anybody receiving a prize ring, believe you me. Here is a right hand under the eye of Jake LaMotta, and he appears to be cut under there now by Sugar Ray. Ray swings a left uppercut and tags LaMotta on the chin, and Jake just seems to settle a little deeper in his tracks and refuse to go down. Now Robinson's left hand in for the forehead 3 times, 4 times. The left hook is working beautifully, and LaMotta grabs Sugar Ray and holds on again. LaMotta's face now is a crimson smear, and Robinson tees off on him with his right uppercut twice under that left eye of LaMotta, which has opened up. Now Robinson with a left hand to the body, a swinging right to the chin, a right uppercut, a left hook by Robinson, all of them lethal blows, and LaMotta continues to stagger around and not able to do much about it. Robinson with a left hook and a right uppercut, a right cross. LaMotta right above our Pabst Blue Ribbon microphone is nailed with everything in the book, but he won't go down. And he grabs and holds on to Sugar Ray, and he's one of the weariest battlers you've ever seen. Robinson with a right uppercut, a left hook, a right overhand right, a right to the midsection by Robbie without a return from Jake. And believe you me, Robbie's arms are about as weary now as Jake LaMotta's entire body. Now LaMotta out in the open, getting his left hand up to try to ward off Sugar Ray. Ray with a chopping right hand into the chin of LaMotta. LaMotta's face swollen and bleary, and here is Robinson with a left hook and a right cross, and LaMotta staggers into the rope and then grabs hold of Sugar Ray and holds on again. Here is LaMotta tagged with the right hand. He's utterly powerless to defend himself as Robinson wings him in, and the bell ends round 12 with a bristling right hand on the chin and a right uppercut, and Robinson misses a left hook and then flails away with everything that he's got. And LaMotta takes it and takes it all and backs away, cannot get his hand up. And here is another left hand in by Sugar Ray, and a left hook, and LaMotta's head was almost snapped off his shoulders. Robinson brings up another short right hand, and LaMotta tries to tie him up, and referee Frank Secora breaks it. There's a very bad swollen spot now under the left eye of Jake LaMotta. Robinson with a long overhand right, and he nails LaMotta coming in, and then Jake grabs him, and his knees sag. But he's game to the core, is the Bronx Bull, the middleweight champion of the world, at least until this one is over. Here are 2, 3, 4, 5 left hands on the nose. LaMotta cannot get his hands up. Robinson with his left hand in for the head and a right hand in for the midsection. And Jake LaMotta runs into a left hook that's thrown by Sugar Ray. LaMotta plodding in. Runs into a left hand thrown on the forehead. Robinson with a right hand thrown down to the midsection. Only 1 minute is gone here in round 13. Robinson looking for an opening, comes in and scores with a terrific right uppercut and 2 left hooks to the chin, misses a right uppercut,
Then LaMotta just lurches back against the ropes and stands there. And Robbie goes to him and smashes him in the nose with his left and his right hand right down on the cheekbone. And Jake appears powerless to defend himself, and the swollen spot on his left cheek has opened up and is spilling crimson down his face. Robinson with a straight overhand right with a minute and a half left to go in round 13. LaMotta trying to hold on. Some of the crowd yelling, "Stop it," but you don't do that to a champion. He has to go out fighting. LaMotta misses the left hook thrown for the head of Sugar Ray. Ray with two left hands on that swollen left guy of Jake's. Another left hand. Then Jake is able to move away from a right hand, and then he falls back to the ropes but does not go down as Robinson tags him with a straight right hand on the forehead. And LaMotta seems loath to come away from the rope, but he does come out, and Robinson hits him with a powerful right hand, a left uppercut, a right cross, and LaMotta holds on, and they're going to stop it. Ray Robinson is the new champion of the world.
One question before you go, Ray. When did you know that you had him? Because you were fighting pretty evenly for 8 rounds.
Well, that's the way we planned the fight. We figured LaMotta would be strong as he was. First part of the fight and the last part of the fight, he would weaken. We figured to box along the first part of the fight and wait till he showed signs of weakening, which he did.
I see.
And in those late rounds, after the 8th, he showed signs, and my manager told me to start throwing, open up heavier punches.
Well, Ray, my congratulations to you. You're a wonderful champion. As a welterweight, I hope that you're the greatest the middleweight division ever knew.
All right, there we go. So what, Bert, is the legacy of this fight? We look at this and we're amazed by the ferociousness of it. What did this do for both men?
Well, for Ray Robinson, it solidified his credentials, if you will, moving up now from welterweight to win the middleweight title. For Jake LaMotta, it would take a time in coming. He would go on, fight, even get knocked down, which nobody remembers, by a fighter named Danny Nardico a few years later. It took a movie by Scorsese called Raging Bull that came out of a book about this thick. I think it was the Z's in the phone book that they put into it. But Raging Bull became the legacy of Jake LaMotta. And as Henry Winkler, Irving Winkler said, it's a Winkler. No,
not
Irving
the Fonz,
Winkler.
Yes.
Irving Winkler, the producer and director, said, we almost made him a nice guy, but it wasn't quite possible.
He was actually upset in that he said he never actually used profanity. He said it was his brother and other people around him, but a lot of other things. To take issue with that one thing is something else. Dave, where did Ray Robinson rate this among his great performances?
Well, he just, he liked the idea of finally getting rid of the LaMotta curse or whatever you want to call it. Even though he usually won the fight, LaMotta was always there as the guy who had once beaten him.
Mm-hmm. Pete, what do you think? Where does this leave
I
both
think
men?
the legacy was slightly different. This fight, because it was seen by a lot of people, showed that boxing could have beauty to it. That as brutal as it can be, as brutal as that fight was, it was a very tough fight. People were hurting each other. It had the thing that Robinson brought to the whole sport, which was it could be beautiful too. It was a kind of savage ballet of some kind. And I think that washed over a generation of writers, for example. I think everybody from Mailer to Baldwin to a whole lot of people went on for 30 years remembering that that's what it could be. Mm-hmm. And I think in that sense, Robinson made the sport into something more than just a lot of colorful guys showing up and making a lot of money. It became another thing altogether.
Jake LaMotta also continues to make, if you will, traffic out of this, and it has wheels. He continues to say in his monologue, I fought Sugar Ray Robinson so many times, it's a wonder I don't have diabetes. Mm-hmm. So he's continuing to use that as his final coda for part of his monologue.
Sugar Ray Robinson at this point is 29 years old, just shy of being 30, so still at his peak.
I guess that Robinson's series with Jake LaMotta showed just how great a fighter he was. He was too good for anyone in his own weight class, so they put him against LaMotta, who was this tough middleweight. So although he may have been more dazzling early in his career, in the late 30s. And dominant. He was so great that he in effect had to be handicapped by moving up in weight class to fight bigger guys. Otherwise, it was a performance and not a contest.